Hey everyone, it's Tay of Shantae Plans and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In this video, I'm going to be talking about B6 planning in case anyone is considering switching to or purchasing a B6 planner and giving it a try. I thought I would go over a few of the things that I've learned about planning in a B6 planner to help you decide if maybe this might be a good fit for you. And so let's first start out by going over just essentially the layout of what a B6 planner is. I'm going to turn to a blank page to make it easier to talk about. This happens to be the Sadie Stickers B6 planner. It's a vertical planner. And I'm going to be referencing a vertical planner for the sake of this video because I'm going to be talking about planning for memory planning, which is, I think oftentimes when people are looking for something where it's more of what they're just writing in, you may be looking for a horizontal planner or a daily planner or something like a plum paper planner, which I do have a plum paper planner, which is actually I think just an A5 sized planner because it's a little bit bigger than my B6, which gives you the option of having a planner which you would then just write in and it's more functional that way. But this planner is specifically designed for memory keeping to allow you to plan with stickers and do it decoratively. And so for the sake of this video, that's what I will be focusing on. A B6 planner is about 5.5 by 7 inches tall, which is smaller than what could be considered the classic or traditional size planner at 7 by 9 inches. The other difference between this and the classic A5 wide planner is with the B6 planner, you get 3 columns on each page in a 2-page layout. With the 7 by 9 size planner, you get 4 columns on a 2-page layout. And in having those 4 columns, or 8 columns total, you get a sidebar plus your full 7 days going across the week. With the B6 planner, you have typically the last column split in 2, which would allow you to do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday split in half. And so that's how B6 planners are commonly formatted. I have seen them formatted other ways, and so there are some different options out there depending on where you decide to purchase your planner from. I think I may have said already in this video, but this planner is from Sadie Stickers, and this is the format of her vertical planner. And it's one I personally particularly really like, and I'm going to get into, as we go through this video, how I've sort of modified this format to make it work for my personal planning style, because I did make a shift from this particular traditional format because this wasn't the best fit for me. And speaking of my planning style, this wasn't the first time I had tried B6 planning. I was initially inspired to try a B6 planner back in 2020. It was the pandemic. We were at home. I had a lot of time on my hands. So I was not only planning in my A5 wide planner at that time, but I would like plan the week in my A5 wide planner. And then I had so much time on my hands, I would just like recreate spreads inside of this B6 planner. So these were plans I'd already planned out in my A5 wide planner, already done it decoratively with stickers. And I just had more time to decorate and play with stickers. So I would just create another spread in my B6 planner just to have fun with it. And so you can see here, this particular planner, this is a hardbound planner. This is the Printpressions B6 planner. And turning to a blank page, as you can see, it does have those column formats. So we've got the 5 columns going across and then the final column split in half. It's a little bit harder to see because of the grid format, but there is a sectioned out header section for your date cover at the top of each of these columns, and then you have this grid pattern underneath it. So you had a grid pattern inside each of the columns. Was one of the first things I personally didn't care for as much because I didn't care for the grid. Now I had a really good friend of mine. She loved the grid pattern because it helped her write straight to have the horizontal lines going throughout the column. And for me, I just like the clean look of the open column. It's my personal preference. But when I was first giving this a try, I think my introduction to B6 planning, or a lot of the inspiration that I was getting at the time, was from Allie Joan Plans. She had a fabulous B6 planner. My spreads were nowhere near as gorgeous as hers were. Hers were a work of art. I didn't even finish this one. But one of the things I've always liked for my personal planning style is having a week on 2-page layout. And so in doing this, it took away really some of the, I was trying to work in options to give myself bottom washi, because bottom washi was something I really loved incorporating into my spreads. And so, and I remember when I first started, it wasn't really the same, because with B6 kits, you would get like one thin strip of bottom washi, but it wasn't the same as you would have in your A5 wide size planners. And so there were certain elements that I personally was very interested in and liked the overall look and the way it brought a kit together and a spread together, and having those elements. And it was one of the reasons why the B6 planner didn't really stick for me when I initially tried it out. But one of the things that Ali Joan Plans did really well is she shifted from doing a week on 2 pages, so she would do a week on 4 pages in her B6 planner. I tried it out once and it was not a fit for me, but I wanted to talk about it because it does open up an option for someone who may be trying to figure out, how exactly do I want to format my spreads. And so I will leave a link to her channel below, because she has just some fantastic and gorgeous B6 planning spreads, but her format was more so a week on 4 pages. And so what she had was, she'd have her sidebar, each of her days would take up the full length of the columns, and then I didn't even finish the spread. Saturday, Sunday would go here. She would do almost like another sidebar here. And then this page was just decorated more freestyle with like a journaling. I think I have one more example in here. So yeah, this one where I did Monday through Friday, did my sidebar here. And then Saturday, Sunday here, did this decorative bottom washi style. And then the journaling page here, to allow you could put habit trackers, you could do a little bit of journaling for whatever was happening that week, or make yourself a grocery list or a to-do list or anything like that. You had this extra page to help keep you organized for that week. And so that was the origin of where I started with B6 planning. Those were the two styles I was familiar with when I first got into B6 planning. The option to do a week on 2 pages, or to spread it out and have a week on 4 pages. And those were the formats and layouts that I had been introduced to when I first got into B6 planning. And it did not stick. It didn't last for me. So why did I decide to make the change and switch to a B6 planner? From about May to June of 2022, I was really struggling to complete a spread. And what I'd realized is I'd created a planning schedule for myself and a planning style and method of planning for myself that was simply unsustainable. And a lot of that came out of the pandemic, because again, it was a time where I had so much free time on my hands, and nothing in my personal life was competing with the time that I was spending planning, because nothing else in the world was going on at that time. There was nowhere to go and nothing to do. And so when that changed, it became really difficult to keep up with the planning regimen that I had created for myself. Also in that time, a couple of trends and things had shifted in the planner community that I was personally really into, very much enjoyed, and they were becoming the highlights of what I was truly enjoying about planning. We were doing a lot of fun things with the foundation of planner spreads. Doing a lot more than just putting down the bottom washi as it came in the kit. We were adding trims to it, adding deco and little elements to the bottom washi, decorating our date cover area, and doing a lot more with our sidebars, which when I originally began planning, the sidebar was so simple and straightforward. Just to give you an example of what I'm talking about, I just grabbed my 2019 planner. And so as you can see in the date cover area, again, it's just the date covers. The bottom washi is simply the bottom washi as it came in the kit. There's no additional foil washi, no additional flowers or anything like that. And the sidebar, very, very simple. You have your quote box, a couple of checklists, and then your habit trackers in the sidebar. And it was really straightforward and simple, and also really not time consuming, particularly if you're someone who is not only planning for yourself, but planning for YouTube and making planner content, as I was doing. Not only was that taking more time to decorate those areas of my planner that I hadn't been decorating in the same way before, but those were the areas but that was the part of my spread that I was having the most fun with, feeling like I was the most inspired, had the opportunity to be the most creative. It was the planning part of my spread I was enjoying the most. And then I would get to my day by day, and I'd get to about Wednesday, and I would not want to complete the spread after that. I would immediately run out of steam. Everything I was putting down in that day-to-day started to feel redundant. It was uninteresting, and I wasn't having as much fun decorating within my columns. And so I wasn't inspired to just keep going. It was really unsatisfying. And that made me very, very sad. It made me really nervous because this was something that was my favorite hobby, and I felt like I was losing it because I wasn't sure if I was simply losing interest in the hobby itself, or if somehow it had run its course. I didn't know what was going on. And in a last ditch effort, I spur of the moment decided to pick up a B6 planner and give it a try. And when I made that decision, the one thing I knew was I was not going to give up those elements of my planner. And so I knew I had to figure out something, because I couldn't go back to planning like this, switching to this B6 planner. I needed to have a sidebar, so I couldn't use this first column for Monday. That wasn't going to work for me. And I also didn't care for having just Saturday and Sunday split in that final column. I wasn't in love with that concept. And that layout, but I also knew I still wanted to have a full week on 2 pages. And I was like, how in the world are you going to pull this off? And so the interesting thing with this particular planner, because from August forward, it's very sequential, it's in order, and I figured out what I was doing. But at the very beginning of this planner, because I started this in July, and I've got a mix in this first tab of spreads from June and also July, both of this same section. And I was in no particular order. None of this was making sense. This is the week before this particular week happened. Like, none of this makes sense, because what I was doing was testing it out to see if this was something that I could even make work. And so what I decided, and I remember doing this spread, and I actually do have a video on this spread that's on my channel. What I decided to do with this particular spread was I just wanted to see if I could actually, it was trial and error every step of the way. And so I started with my non-negotiables. I needed to have my bottom washi section, I needed to have my date cover deco, and I wanted a sidebar. So I did those 3 things, and then I went, okay, now how do I fit the rest of the week in here? And I realized, well, I could split up the columns. And I didn't want the only column to be split up to be the Saturday and Sunday. And so what I decided to do was I did Monday, and then I split up and shared Tuesday and Wednesday. And I was like, this is brilliant. Because I always felt like it was the craziest thing to split up Saturday and Sunday, which is a weekend when you actually have plans and are doing things, and you have something interesting typically to put in your planner. And my Tuesday and Wednesday, it's like, I went to work. So a lot less interesting, a lot less things happening on those days, and a lot more things that tend to be routine and go in my planner each and every week. And the redundancy of doing that, I was finding I didn't need a full amount of column space, because I was repeating myself at that point, and I was wanting more variety, or just to feel like there was less that I had to put down. And I think also what was key in making the decision that this was going to be a good fit for me, because in deciding to share columns, where some columns were getting 2 days, it limits what I'm putting in each one of these columns. And so in each column, I'm only going to put 2 to 3 things per day. So I'm highlighting and sort of cherry picking out what I want to put in this memory keeper. This works for me because I do have my daily planner. And in having this daily planner, I'm able to write down everything I want to keep track of inside my daily planner. And so if for some reason I just need to go back and know what I did on what day, with sort of recorded accuracy, I do have a planner that I don't decorate with stickers that I write in, and then this is just used for my memory planner. If you are looking for a way to accurately record a lot of information, this may not be the right sized planner for you. For me, because I was looking for something that was specifically smaller, specifically only going to be highlighting a few things, and I didn't feel the necessity to have to mark down every single thing I was doing each day. And because it was a memory planner, it wasn't something I was using to keep track of what I was doing throughout the week, which I do understand, because when I first began planning in 2018, I was using my decorative planner that I decorated with stickers very, very functionally. And I would add a few stickers and I would write in it daily. And I would plan as I go, that particular style. And so because I was using this strictly as a memory planner, which means by the time I sit down to decorate this with stickers, the week is already done. I've already written down my plans in my other planner, and I'm just going back into this planner to decorate it and use it as sort of a scrapbook and a memory keeper of that week. And so in having those criteria, it felt like, okay, this is something that I can make work for me, because I don't need to write down every single thing that happens throughout the day. I'm fine picking and choosing and highlighting just a couple of things that have happened throughout that week. And then I kept doing it, and I started figuring out, okay, I can make this layout work for me. And it really started to come together for me. And I was really enjoying planning in this size planner. One thing I think is really important to talk about, and I think also another thing that's really important to consider if you're thinking about a B6 planner, particularly if you've been in an A5 wide size planner and are considering downsizing. I write really small. I write really, really small, and the pen that I write with, that I'm currently using, I used to be, oh my goodness, like a super fanatic of the Staedtler Tri-Plus Fineliner. I still think it is an incredible pen, and I absolutely love and adore it. I've recently switched to the Micron pen, and this is what is this, 0.25 millimeters. It is a super duper fine, tiny, tiny, tiny tipped pen. And I point that out because I'm writing with an extremely fine tipped pen, and my handwriting is naturally very small. And that I think that combination is an important factor in choosing to go to a B6 planner. If you are someone who writes big, you may find that you have even less room in your B6 planner than I do. Whereas I can oftentimes, be able to fit 3 things. If you write bigger than I do, you may only be fitting 1 or 2 things in your sections, depending on how you decorate them. So I do feel like it is important to point that out, because you may find yourself not being able to write out as much as you'd like to. And there are times where, depending on, there are some people I think who, like, they only write 1 word. It may be you're putting down a laptop icon and the only thing you write next to it is work. Or you only use scripts in your planner, and that may be a good fit for you. But if you are someone who likes to use your own handwriting in your memory planner and you happen to write big, I definitely want you to take that into consideration if you're considering a B6 planner, because you may find that it looks like there's a lot you can write in here and you can fit quite a bit. But if your handwriting is bigger than mine, you'll sit down to write in your planner and you'll be like, how'd she fit all them words in there? I write really small. So I definitely feel like that's an important thing to discuss for you to take into consideration and to think about if you're considering a B6 planner. the size of your handwriting can be a factor if you're someone who writes bigger than I do. So what do I like about being in a B6 planner? For me, being in a B6 planner made planning a sustainable hobby for me again. It made it something that I could actually complete. It was, and then oh my goodness, when I first switched over, it was like my creativity was reborn. I was so inspired. I was having just the best time creating spreads, and I just was trying all sorts of new things because it was totally fresh and different. I had never formatted a B6 planner this way, and I was having just a blast trying out new things, seeing how it was going to work, and it just was so enjoyable. And so if you are finding that you may be in a bit of a rut with your planning, or it's just not quite feeling the same way, sometimes switching up the size or the type of planner that you're using can be a good way to shake yourself out of a rut. And I don't know if people still use that term. I remember when I first got into the planner community, the term finding planner peace was a big thing. And people would go through a lot of different types of planners, searching for the one that was going to give them their planner piece. Or essentially what they were saying was, I need to find the one that's the right match for me. And that does involve a lot of trial and error. And for a long time for me, a 7x9 size planner was my ideal sized planner, and I really loved it. Since switching to the B6 planner, when I first picked it up, I remember thinking, well, I'm going to use this as sort of a secondary planner. I'm not going to leave my 7x9 because I'd been in it for so long and I felt like that was the right planner for me. I got in this and I have not looked back. I'm very happy with being in a B6 planner, and for now it is the right move forward for me. The potential drawbacks that you may find to being in a B6 planner. And actually, okay, so there's the next thing I want to talk about can be looked at as a potential drawback, but also a potential really great thing. You're in a much smaller format, and if you do decide to format in the way that I did, where there are certain things you're unwilling to let go of, and so you end up doubling up on a couple of days, on the days where I have 2 days per column, which what I decided to do was I made the middle column on both pages the days where it got 2 days a week. And so I have my sidebar, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday gets its own column, Thursday gets its own column, Friday and Saturday share, and Sunday gets its own column. And so what that allows me to do, I have 3 full boxes that get included in the body of the spread. And then depending on the spread and how I decide to format it, sometimes I have a full box that gets included in the sidebar, or sometimes I'll include 2 full boxes in the sidebar. So this is one where I had 5 of the full boxes, and typically in a kit you get 8 to 9 full boxes. And so depending on how you decide to format your spread that week, you may be using anywhere from 3 to 5 of your full boxes. You're not going to need all of the boxes that come in your kit. And again, I'm saying this based on a kit being an A5 wide sized kit, or a 7x9 size, standard size, classic size, vertical planner kit. Because one of the things that was the other thing. For as long as I've been in the planner community, there's always been a wider variety of kits available in the standard vertical kit size versus being a B6 kit size. B6 kits, there were only a handful of shops that even made them, and they didn't always offer every single kit that they made in their shop in the B6 size. So there was always less B6 kits available. That was the other thing I knew when I made the decision to switch to a B6 planner in the summer, that I wasn't interested in moving away from A5 wide kits because I preferred that format. I preferred those kits way more. And with B6 kits, you didn't get both strips of bottom washi. You didn't get a lot of things. And I personally have found fewer and fewer shops that even offer B6 sized kits. And that may also be just because I wasn't really looking for them. So I don't want to say that there aren't any out there, but they're definitely are more options if you're going to be using a standard vertical kit, which is what I use in my spreads. So I still purchase A5 wide kits to use in my planner. So what that means is each kit that I purchase can be used for more than 1 week, which is fantastic if you're someone who's like, oh, well, I'm purchasing a kit and I want to make it stretch. You can stretch one kit across 2 weeks very easily. If you're planning with this planning style and you're only using 3-4 boxes a week, well, then you've got another 3-4 boxes for the next week quite easily. And so it gives you the opportunity to really stretch your kits if that's something that you're interested in. And if it's not something that you're interested in, if you're someone like me who, what I tend to do with my leftovers from my kit, I either save them and pull them in to other spreads later on, or I will give them to my nieces to play with because they enjoy planning and playing with stickers and doing fun crafty projects and things like that, or I'll use them in my journal, or I'll use them in other notebooks. And so you have a lot of options with what you want to do with your leftovers. It's totally up to you. So for some people, they can see it as a bit of a negative because you don't get to use all of your full boxes in one spread. And if that's something you really like, and I definitely understand that, full boxes are one of my favorite things about a kit. It's the thing that generally makes me choose a kit. The full boxes are the first thing to grab my attention. And so you do get fewer of them in your weekly spread. But that doesn't mean your weekly spread isn't still going to be really beautiful, because I tend to love how my spreads come together, even though I'm only using a few of the full boxes. And so if that's something that you aren't interested in letting go of, you may decide to format your spreads a little bit differently. You may find that, well, maybe bottom washi isn't as important to you, but maybe your full boxes are. And so maybe what you decide to do is, instead of putting bottom washi, you line your full boxes up along the bottom of your spread, and then just plan in the columns above it, and omit having bottom washi, and maybe only put your bottom washi in the sidebar. Or maybe you stack 2 full boxes in your sidebar and then 1 full box per column going throughout the rest of the week, to give yourself as many options of your full boxes as you want. I think that there are a lot of options for the way you can format your B6 planner and make it work for you. If there are certain things that you find, those are the elements of my planner that I enjoy the most, I'm not willing to let them go. So if I'm going to switch to this size, I have to find a way to make those elements work in this size planner and have it still look good and make me happy. I totally understand that, because those were the non-negotiables in my head when I made the decision to switch to a B6 planner. You just have to know what it is that you like, what you're not willing to let go of if you're making a switch. And if this is something that you're starting new, it's a little bit easier because you don't have anything that you are maybe necessarily attached to that you don't want to let go of. So then it just becomes about figuring out, well, what's going to be the best format and style for me? Is it going to be a week on 2 pages, or a week on 4 pages, or a week on 1.5 pages? Some people are comfortable going 3 pages and doing a 3rd page here, and then starting the next week on the 4th page here. I've seen that from Just Plans, who used to do that on YouTube with an A5 planner. And so there certainly are options for how you decide to format your spreads, and they are totally up to you. And I love the amount of freedom that we get to have in our planners, no matter what size you decide to plan in. I would definitely say, for me, my favorite things about being in a B6 size planner, because the scale is so much smaller, it makes it easier for me to have the time to really get to be creative, do fun and unique things in my spreads, but still be able to get a spread completed. And that was something I was finding I was not able to do in an A5 wide planner, and balance it with my personal life and personal schedule. So if you find that you have a very busy schedule, you still want to be able to have fun doing all of the different decorative things in your spreads, but you are running short on time, or you're just overwhelmed, or you just don't have as much to write in your columns, and you feel like being in an A5 wide size planner is too big, it's too much space, it's more than you need, the B6 may be the option that you're looking for. And I wanted to share that because those were the reasons and those were the things that brought me to a B6. And so hopefully by sharing my experience, the things that I was looking for, the things I found have worked for me, if you're trying to make a decision as to whether or not this is a good size and a good fit for you, hopefully this helped answer some questions for you. At this point, I've been planning in this size planner for several months now, so I have lots of videos on my channel with Plan With Me videos showing you how I created all of these spreads, so you can go ahead and take a look at those. I have a playlist of my B6 planner spreads, including some of the older spreads from back when I was in this planner in 2020. And so you can get an idea of, is this going to be a good fit for me? So hopefully I was able to answer some questions in this video, and then the Plan With Me's themselves will help provide some inspiration and answer any other questions you may have about how you might want to format or decorate your B6 planner. If you have any additional questions that I may not have answered, please go ahead and leave those in the comments so that I can answer those questions for you. And thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I hope that it was helpful, and I hope you're all having an amazing day. I'll see you next video, and I wish you all the best with whatever size planner you decide to get. Thanks for watching. Bye.